Happy Wednesday to you. Thanks for joining us here on the Market Day Report. I'm Marlon Bowling. Well, we're going to take a look at our grain and livestock markets with some expert help in the form of Rich Nelson of Allendale Incorporated in McHenry, Illinois. And Rich, I noticed on the overnight radar shots, I see where they had some very significant rain that moved through Nebraska and maybe southeast South Dakota into Iowa. It looks like fairly general coverage in Iowa this morning.
Certainly does here. We've got some preliminary reports of 20 to 80 hundredths, and in terms of the general forecast, we've got this one coming through, a little bit more still lined up. I noticed some of the forecasts have actually been building a little bit for the totals over the next few days. In fact, some models suggesting over 2 inches maybe actually eventually seen here for portions of Iowa.
Okay, so that harkens back to the old USDA crop progress and condition report that came out Monday. I say old, it's about 2 days old or a day and a half. But anyway, they reduced the corn condition by a couple of percentage points. The soybean condition went down 4 points. It's like the trade has kind of thrown that out the window with the recent rainy weather and the cooler air that's dropping down into the Midwest here out of Canada over the next few days. They don't seem too concerned that we're getting into that pod fill period here. They seem to think we're probably going to make it through the first half of August without much of a problem.
That's exactly right. That's actually a very big question here for us. As far as our numbers, we've kind of computed out the peak pod fill day for Iowa, the top state there, as of August 1st. So the trade's basically saying, hey, as long as we're getting rains right in front of us, a very key stage, and as long as these extended forecasts kind of still stay a little mild, then maybe they're going to say that the damage will not be as severe as previously thought here.
Well, I know Janet just had a story on a little bit ago talking about the spring wheat tour that's going on in the Dakotas, the Northern Plains area there, and it sounds like in the eastern sections of the Dakotas, they were, I guess, fairly impressed with the yields that they had seen so far, even though it was down from last year. But it sounds like everybody anticipates they'll find a lot worse conditions as they move west today, and maybe a lot of abandoned fields, too.
Definitely a great question here for us. So that day one crop tour up there, they found 37.9 for their specific tour findings. And it's hard to extrapolate that to a whole state average, but keep in mind that would be the lowest whole state average for North Dakota since 2011. When they actually completed a harvest of 30.5 bushels an acre. So definitely, as far as this goes, we'll be watching this very key dry area that they're certainly covering here today.
Well, of course, we've been hearing for quite a while that Minnesota seems to have had a terrific crop this year because they had more significant moisture through the growing season here. But as you go westward toward Montana, where the where the wildfire damage is, the crops are just not doing very well out there. So it's almost like a tale of two totally different crops, isn't it, from west to east here?
It certainly is. And in terms of the trade's focus, especially with wheat and especially with spring wheat, we all know that we don't actually know what you get until you get out in the fields, and more importantly, until you actually get those combines running. So this is definitely a good stage one guess at what's actually out there.
Now, tell us about the August crop report that is coming up here. They're going to do actual surveys on this, right?
They sure will. So from May through July, USDA uses their weather yield model. From August on out, though, this is actually composed of two separate surveys. One, a direct farmer survey, basically asking what is your yield estimate, and the second is an infield check here, and that depends on what they get regarding maturity here. So the South will be actual population counts plus kernel analysis plus ear analysis. The North up here in the Midwest will be looking at immature crops, so therefore only population-based estimates.
Okay, well, thanks, Rich. I'll bring you back here in just a moment, and we will take a look at our livestock trade as we get ready to open up a Wednesday here on the Market Day Report. We'll be back with Rich right after this. Well, we're back talking with Rich Nelson of Allendale Incorporated, and he's based in McHenry, Illinois. And just quickly here, before we get into our livestock trade here, Rich, give me a window weather report, will you, on what's going on locally there? A lot of folks are maybe jealous about what kind of weather you're seeing.
Well, for ourselves, actually, in the northern third here of Illinois, we are seeing some generally good weather right now, mild temperatures, which has been fantastic for us. We'll stay maybe a little more warm next couple of days, but certainly next week is seen with below normal temps, and right now we'll line up for a good inch of rain here over the next few days. So for ourselves, we're recovering from what was maybe a struggling situation just a couple weeks ago.
McHenry, Illinois, the vacation spot in the summer here in the U.S. this year. All right. Well, Rich, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. All right. Let's focus on the livestock trade here. We had a turnaround again. It looked like the cattle market was going to hold its own yesterday, and for the majority of the day it did, and then it just started sagging, and it just went lower and lower into the final bell yesterday, where we saw most contracts over $1 lower again. Technically speaking, I know we have the Fed cattle exchange coming up later on today, so that may establish our cash cattle trade, but technically, did it do any damage yesterday?
You know, we did leave this gap still open, these charts at some higher prices. So on the charts, you're going to suggest, we do have a chance that it come back up and maybe posting some $1, maybe $2 higher trade at some point on the futures. On the cash side, we'll see if that actually does happen. Right now, people are maybe dialing back their expectations of what this week's cash may actually do here.
Well, I understand that we dropped that wholesale beef cutout value in the last month about $42.50 roughly, and only gained back about maybe 70-some cents. So they have a ways to go if they want to recap much of that.
They sure do. And this whole very good packer margin has been a very big issue for us here. Obviously, on the cash cattle end, we have seen some significant declines, but a lot of this does play into how much of this very good margin packers will be willing to give up here on this next move down for this next cash cattle discussion. As a reminder, we have rising supplies here lined up probably from the second week of August all the way through October. So definitely this higher supply offer these next few weeks will be closely watched.
Rich, I love to watch charts, and I was looking at a lean hog chart this morning, and it has all the impressions of what they call a coiling pattern, I guess, where you're establishing lower highs and higher lows as you go, and it seems like pretty soon something has to give because that triangle is kind of coming to a point here.
It certainly does, and especially once you're looking at this, the charts from the August contract, which more or less is still kind of a summer contract, still supported by tight supplies, compared with all these deferreds, which definitely have taken some pretty good declines. We definitely have two separate markets here. Certainly on the October and December contract, this $4 break in this past couple weeks might be tough to take. Maybe a small rebound next few weeks here.
Rich, as always, great to visit with you. Thanks for all the insight into the markets as we get ready to open up our daytime trade today. Rich Nelson, a well-known market expert and analyst from Allendale in McHenry, Illinois. We'll be checking in with the Allendale folks all week long, so we always appreciate the content.
They always have great insight, that's
They
for
do.
sure. Thank you very much, Marlon.